How's it going, everybody? My name's Steven Schott. I work with Ritter Real Estate on the Bright Blazer broker team here in Cape Girardeau, Missouri. I've been a realtor for a short time, but I've been investing in real estate for much longer. I've done everything from renovations on houses to building houses to selling flips to managing rentals to managing tenants and even managing other people's properties. Today we're going to talk about the pros and cons of different areas of real estate. We're going to talk about the pros and cons of investing in real estate, the pros and cons of being a homeowner, and the pros and cons of renting the house that you live in. So stay tuned. One of the first and most obvious pros to being a homeowner is that nobody can tell you whether or not your doggy can live with you. Ain't that right, Mia? Ain't that right? She hates this. We're first going to start with the pros of being a homeowner. I think most people at a certain time believe that it's time to buy a house. What are the pros and cons of doing so? Let's first talk about some of those existential pros real quickly. One of those is privacy. You have more privacy as a homeowner than you do as a renter. So, renovations. Renovations, you can renovate that house to your liking and do what you want without having to ask permission of the guy that you're renting from, because it's your home. Owning a dog, owning a pet. Those are things that I hear renters ask me about all the time, and unfortunately I can't always allow dogs in some of my rental houses because if I have different dogs and cats coming in and out all the time, I have to start replacing stuff as the owner. So, just like you saw Mia a second ago, I've owned her for 3 years, and happily she's had her own big backyard, and I've been able to enjoy her company for 3 years now because I'm a homeowner and a landlord can't tell me I can't have her. So those benefits are great. I love having my dog being able to live with me, but on a more practical note, let's talk about the financial pros of being a homeowner. There's 3 big ones here. One of those is real estate increases faster than the rate of inflation. Historically speaking, real estate value has always outpaced the rate of inflation on our dollar. As long as you maintain it properly and you keep up with the trends in your neighborhood, your house is probably going to be worth more in the future. The second one is mortgage paydown or equity paydown, which means that every month that I'm making a mortgage payment, I owe less to the bank and my net worth has increased, which means the amount that I owed on something compared to the amount that this house is worth has now become further apart. I now am worth more money for every payment I give the bank. And when it's paid off, then I have an asset here that has value. That third one is tax benefits. For every dollar in interest you spend on your mortgage, you are directly able to write that off on your taxes. If I spent $5,000 on interest payments in my mortgage, I write $5,000 off of my taxes. And your accountant can help you out with that. We'll talk a little bit more about that in another video, but stay tuned for that. So we talked about the pros of being a homeowner. What are the cons? What's the bad parts of being a homeowner? You know, when people ask me, should I be a homeowner or should I be a renter? My answer always is, it depends. It depends on the market that you're in, and it depends on you personally, what your goals are and what you want to see happen. So what are some of the cons to being a homeowner? Well, I think the most obvious one is the acquisition process. It takes between 30 and 60 days after finding the house you want to buy to actually move into it. After inspections, bank appraisal, getting loan approval, and working through all the paperwork, you can finally get the keys to move in after a, next con, 20% down payment for most houses. Now there are government loans that allow you to get in for 3.5% or less, and some in-house bank loans that allow you to do that. If you want to learn more about those, there's going to be another video on that topic as well, so stay tuned. So the acquisition process is longer. The upfront cost to get in is usually more between closing costs and down payment. And one of the most obvious cons to being a homeowner is, well, you got to start paying for your own repairs. Your roof goes bad, you got to pay for it. Your AC goes out in the middle of the summer, you can't call your landlord to come fix it. It's all up to you. I think one of the cons that is a myth, though, is that owning a home ties you down financially and logistically, which in the grand scheme of things, if you know what you're doing and if you team up with the right people, simply is not true. So, just like the myths of cons and pros that I said that we were going to talk about, this is one of them. This is the biggest one. That buying a home ties you down. When, in fact, if anything, it frees you up financially and mobily. If you ever buy a house and you say, I don't want to live here anymore, in a market like Cape Girardeau, again, it depends. In a market like Cape Girardeau, you can rent it for more than your mortgage payment. I mean, one of the benefits of being a homeowner is that your mortgage payment's probably lower than what the rent is in the market. Otherwise, people wouldn't be charging that much in rent. So if you ever wanted to move away, you can rent it out, have somebody else pay this piece of equity down for you. Or, in the grand scheme of things, you own it for 10 years, go ahead and sell it for more than what you bought it for. It's an automatic savings account for you. So some of the pros and cons of real estate, again to recap, are pros are more privacy. You can do your own renovations. Real estate increases faster than the rate of inflation. Mortgage is usually cheaper than rent. Equity paydown and all the tax benefits. Those cons come in the form of acquisition process is usually longer. You pay for your own repairs. The upfront cost is much more. And one of the cons that is actually a myth is that it ties you down. Buying real estate does not tie you down financially. It makes you more financially free. Alright, so we talked about being a homeowner. What about being a renter? Well, I think some of those pros and cons are just the opposite of being a homeowner. When you're a renter, some of the pros there's a lower upfront cost. Usually it's just 1 month's rent is also your down payment. And you get that back at the end of a 9, 10, 11, 12 month lease. Not responsible for maintenance and repairs. You won't be responsible for that AC unit that goes out. You call your landlord and say, hey, this needs to be fixed, and he's obligated to come over and fix it. And you may be more mobile, but usually you can do the same thing with owning real estate. So one of the myths of the pros of being a renter is the opposite of the myths of being a con as a homeowner, is that it makes you more mobile. Not always. You're always tied to a lease for at least some period of time. You can't move out whenever you want. In a house, you definitely can. Nobody tells you you have to stay there. You can move whenever you want to. So what are the cons of being a renter? Well, you can't change the property. There's no return on the payments, and renting won't increase your credit score like being a homeowner would. When you rent, he's not reporting that. Your landlord isn't reporting that to a credit bureau saying he's always on time with rent. But when you have a loan through a bank, usually your FICO credit score notices that and it goes up. It takes about 6 or 7 years for a mortgage to really affect your credit score in a positive way though. So we've talked about the pros and cons of being a homeowner and the pros and cons of being a renter. What about investing in real estate? That's my favorite part. We're about to get into it. When it comes to investing in real estate, there's so many different avenues, and I can make an entirely different video on how to get started there. Stay tuned for future notice of a course that will be coming out teaching you how to get invested, starting right here in Cape Girardeau. So as I said, there's many different ways to invest in real estate. You can do fix and flips, you can do Airbnbs, you can do rental properties, you can do buy and hold real estate. All of these different terms, it doesn't matter. We're kind of generalizing what it means to be a real estate investor. So 5 pros to being a real estate investor is that you have direct control over your real estate investment. You receive monthly income from tenants. Hopefully your properties are performing so that you create cash flow. Your investment property is an asset and fulfills a basic need. You receive tax benefits on your investment property just like you do from being a homeowner, except you receive a little bit more incentive to be an investor. And your investment is insured. It's one of the only investments that is physical that you can insure against damages, which is insane to me. So what are the cons? The cons to being a real estate investor is that markets can be fickle. There are no guarantees, but that's true with any investment in the United States. Any investment anywhere. You go to the stock market, you can't be promised that you're going to make X amount of dollars in return. Most people have to be landlords as well as investors when they first start. I still manage a lot of my own properties, and I've been doing this for 7-8 years now. But I'm still a landlord. Not so much because I have to be, but because I choose to be now. But when I first started, I had to manage my own properties. Cash flow issues can arise when you have vacancies. If you're vacant for too long, anything longer than 4 weeks when your next mortgage payment is due, then that becomes a cash flow issue. And if you just have one property, usually you're having to pay that out of your own pocket. So multifamily units usually combat this, or having multiple single family units usually combat this. You need to know lots of details up front, including mortgages, titles, insurance, all that stuff. Those are things that your realtor can help you out with, that a CPA, that a tax attorney or a real estate attorney can help you out with, that you can build a team around, but it takes a lot of upfront knowledge, more so than just going to a financial advisor and saying, hey, do something with my money. And as far as finding the right property and knowing what you're doing, the biggest con to investing in real estate is that most people just don't. Most people get mixed information and the wrong information from the wrong people, unable to discern who's giving the right information, who's giving the wrong information. So there's just a lot of voices out there. It makes it really hard to understand what you should be doing. So again, some of the pros to real estate investment are: you have direct control over your real estate. You receive monthly income. Your investment property is an actual asset that you have. You receive tax benefits and your investment is insured. Some of the cons is the market can be fickle. Most people have to be landlords up front before they're investors. Cash flow issues can arise. Securing financing can be tough for your first investment, and you need to know a lot of details up front. So I think we went quickly enough over what the pros and cons of each one of these things are. If you want to learn any more, follow my link below to my page. Reach out to me here on Facebook or on YouTube and ask questions. My goal as a realtor with Ritter Real Estate, and the reason I joined the Bright Blazer broker team, was to educate the people in my community more so on how to get started investing in real estate and taking control of their financial situation. Out of all the things that you have available to you to be an investor in life, I believe real estate is the key way to financial freedom. And I'm planning on teaching as many people as I can on how to get there. Again, I'm Stephen Schott with Ritter Real Estate here in Cape Girardeau, Missouri. Give me a call. My number, my contact info will be linked below. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks, everyone.